What if I told you that much of the exercise advice you've heard your whole life might actually be preventing you from reaching your best health after the age of 60? That's right. This statement surprises even health professionals, especially after recent analyses of large-scale scientific studies. One of the most impressive is a groundbreaking 2024 study from the University of Copenhagen, which followed 8,000 adults over the age of 60 for 5 years. The results were so impactful that they completely changed the way we look at exercise in older age. The researchers found that people who replaced traditional walking with 5 specific and targeted exercises saw a 73% reduction in fall risk. But it doesn't stop there. These same participants increased their physical strength by an impressive 89%. That's right, they nearly doubled their physical capacity. And all of this while drastically reducing the risk of injuries and functional limitations. The results were so unusual that scientists repeated the study twice just to confirm it wasn't a statistical error. But it wasn't. The numbers were consistent. And there's one more detail that makes this discovery even more surprising. These people spent 40% less time exercising than the group that did traditional walking. Even so, they had better results in every marker analyzed. Blood pressure improved 31% more than in the group that only walked. Joint pain was reduced by 67%, while in the traditional group this reduction was only 12%. Bone density not only maintained but increased significantly, something extremely rare in older adults without the use of medication. But what really caught the attention of specialists was the number 1 exercise on the list. It's something so simple that 94% of participants were able to perform it on their first try, without equipment and without technical guidance. Even so, this single movement was capable of increasing longevity markers by 42%. Recent research from Harvard Medical School explains why. This exercise activates what are known as mechanotransduction pathways, which literally send signals to cells to behave like younger cells. In other words, it reprograms the body to function more efficiently and resiliently, something that until recently seemed unlikely. Understanding this mechanism could mean the difference between walking confidently at 80 or relying on a cane at 70. And that's why this information is so valuable for those entering or already living in their senior years. Before starting the exercise list, the study presenters asked viewers to leave their age and the city they're watching from in the comments as a way to build an active community of support and follow-up. Now, moving into the practical content, we start with exercise number 5, wall push-ups with an isometric pause. At first glance, this movement might seem too simple to produce meaningful results, but science shows exactly the opposite. A study published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity in 2023 observed that adults over 60 who performed wall push-ups with an isometric pause for just 8 weeks increased their upper body strength by 34% more than people who did traditional exercises, such as regular push-ups or resistance band workouts. This is extremely relevant because after the age of 60, the body loses about 3% of muscle mass per year if there are no proper stimuli. This loss is not just aesthetic. Upper body strength is directly related to an older adult's autonomy. Carrying grocery bags, opening jars, lifting objects, pushing heavy doors, and even preventing a fall after losing balance are all tasks that depend on strong muscles in the shoulders, chest, and arms. Wall push-ups with a pause strengthen exactly what physiologists call functional strength patterns. These are natural movements used repeatedly in daily life, even if you don't notice them. To perform the exercise correctly, simply stand about an arm's length from a wall, placing your palms at shoulder height and width. From there, the guided movement activates essential muscles for stability, posture, and fall prevention, all in a safe, controlled way that is adaptable for any age. When doing wall push-ups, your feet should be together or just slightly apart to maintain a stable base. Then, slowly lean toward the wall until your nose almost touches the surface. It is exactly at this point that the exercise becomes truly powerful. Hold the static position for 3 to 5 seconds. During this pause, you should feel activation not only in your chest, shoulders, and arms, but also in your core muscles, which engage to stabilize your body during the movement. To start, 5 repetitions are enough. As the exercise becomes more comfortable, you can progress to up to 15 repetitions. One of the biggest advantages of this push-up variation is that it can be easily adjusted based on your fitness level. If the movement feels too easy, simply move your feet farther from a wall, increasing the angle and the load on your muscles. If it's too difficult, step closer to the wall to reduce the intensity. An important study from the University of British Columbia showed that people over the age of 60 who performed wall push-ups with a pause 3 times a week for 12 weeks increased their pushing strength by 41%. But the most interesting finding was another. There was also a 23% improvement in reaction time. For older adults, this is extremely relevant. This improvement happens because the isometric hold phase of the exercise stimulates proprioception, the body's ability to sense its position in space. Proprioception is one of the first functions to decline with aging, and its loss is directly associated with increased fall risk. When this ability diminishes, people begin to have difficulty balancing or correcting unexpected movements, which explains why falls become so frequent and dangerous after age 60. After strengthening the upper body with this essential exercise, we move on to a movement that targets an entirely different group of muscles, but one that is equally important for healthy aging. We now move to exercise number 4, seated leg raises with resistance. Although it seems simple because it's done while seated, this exercise is surprisingly effective. A 2024 study published in the Archives of Physical Medicine revealed that older adults who practice leg raises with resistance increased their walking speed by 28% and improved their stair climbing ability by 45%. These numbers have a direct impact on real life because walking speed is considered by doctors to be one of the most accurate indicators of health and longevity in older adults. It's no wonder many healthcare professionals refer to it as the 6th vital sign, due to its importance. Leg raises with resistance work because they strengthen both the hip flexors and the quadriceps simultaneously, while also engaging the core to maintain posture. These muscles work together every time you take a step, climb stairs, or even stand up from a chair. While walking is excellent for circulation and keeping the body active, it's not enough to deeply strengthen these areas and fight the natural decline in strength that comes with age. To properly perform the seated leg raise, start by slowly lifting your right leg, extending it in front of you as far as you can without discomfort. Ideally, the leg should be raised until it is parallel to the floor, but don't worry if that's not possible at first. The key is to work within your limit and progress over time. Once the leg reaches the highest possible point, hold the position for 2 seconds, feeling the quadriceps and hip muscles engage. Then, lower the leg slowly without letting your foot touch the floor before the next repetition. That completes one cycle. One essential detail that many people overlook is keeping your back firmly supported against the chair throughout the entire movement. This posture ensures that you are activating the correct muscles and prevents compensations that can strain your back or reduce the effectiveness of the exercise. Perform 10 to 15 repetitions with the same leg, then switch to the other side. This exercise is particularly powerful because it uses what is known as unilateral training. By working one leg at a time, you force each side of the body to operate independently, correcting muscle imbalances that naturally develop with aging. It's common for one leg to be stronger than the other without us realizing it, and unilateral training helps fix these differences, improving stability and reducing the risk of falls. To maximize results, gradually increase resistance every 2 weeks. You can start with ankle weights of 0.5 kilograms to 1 kilogram or use a resistance band around your ankles. This periodic progression is what stimulates continuous adaptation. Several studies show that muscles and bones respond extremely well to the principle of progressive overload, regardless of age, debunking the myth that people over 60 can't build strength. In fact, older adults often show even more significant improvements than younger adults, precisely because they start at a lower baseline. After mastering this movement, the video moves on to exercise number 3, which targets a very important system for mobility and independence, but is often neglected in most traditional workouts. Before that, the presenter encourages viewers to like the video and subscribe to the channel, reminding them that more senior health content is posted daily. Exercise number 3 is standing heel raises with a balance challenge. At first glance, it may seem like a simple movement, but it targets 2 fundamental areas for healthy aging: the calves and ankle stability. A landmark study by the National Institute on Aging, published in 2023, showed that calf strength is the best predictor of independence for people over 60 during the following decade. The data was striking. Participants with strong calves were 71% less likely to need assistance with basic activities and had 64% fewer falls with injuries. This direct relationship is explained by the fact that the calf acts like a kind of peripheral heart, helping to pump blood back to the torso. When this muscle group is weak, circulation worsens, fluid retention increases, the risk of thrombosis rises, and mobility decreases. To perform the standing heel raise with a balance challenge, stand behind a chair, lightly touching the backrest only for support if needed. Rise onto the balls of your feet as high as possible, pushing the ground with the front part of your foot. The unique element of this exercise lies in the added challenge that makes it much more effective. When you reach the top of the movement, try to hold your balance for 3 seconds while looking straight ahead, not at your feet. This requires more activation of stabilizing muscles and drastically improves body control. When you maintain balance at the top of a heel raise, you directly activate the vestibular system, the inner ear mechanism responsible for balance control. This system naturally deteriorates with age, which is why exercises that stimulate it are essential for maintaining stability and preventing falls. After holding the top position, lower yourself slowly, taking a full 3 seconds to return your heels to the ground. This lowering phase, called the eccentric phase, is where most of the strength gains occur. Start with 10 repetitions and gradually progress to 25. Once you can perform 25 reps with good posture and barely touching the back of the chair, it's time to increase the challenge. Do the movement using only one leg at a time. The unilateral variation not only doubles the load on the calf, but also significantly increases the balance challenge, forcing the body to stabilize more efficiently. A study by the Longevity Research Center in Japan revealed something remarkable. Adults over 60 who were able to perform 20 single-leg heel raises had biological age markers equivalent to people 15 years younger. These individuals also showed 43% greater arterial flexibility compared to people of the same age who couldn't perform the unilateral exercise. Participants in the study also showed a 26% improvement in cognitive test scores after just 12 weeks of practice, a result attributed to increased cerebral blood flow. But the most important benefit for people over 60 is something else. This exercise strengthens the exact muscles and tendons responsible for recovery after a stumble. When you slip or lose your balance, the body's first response is to push against the ground using your toes to try and stabilize. If your calves are weak, there isn't enough force to generate this critical push, and the fall becomes inevitable. The balance challenge included in the exercise trains the brain and muscles to work in sync, creating new neural connections that improve coordination, spatial awareness, and reaction time. MRI studies show that this type of training increases gray matter in brain areas responsible for motor control and spatial orientation. To get the most out of this exercise, vary the speed on different days of the week. On 2 days, perform slow repetitions with a 3-second hold at the top and a controlled descent. On another day, perform the movement at a faster pace, going up in 1 second and down in 1 second, always maintaining control. This variation in tempo challenges the muscles in different ways and prevents the body from adapting, ensuring continuous progress. After this detailed explanation, we arrive at the 2 most important exercises in the video. And number 2 is surprising for its efficiency and its direct impact on healthy aging. Exercise number 2 is the modified chair squat. Before any concerns about knee pain, it's important to know a transformative finding. A 2024 meta-analysis, which reviewed 42 studies and over 15,000 participants, found that the modified chair squat is not only safe for people with knee issues, but also reduced joint pain by 58% when performed correctly. And here, the key word is indeed correctly. The study showed that when performed with proper technique, this movement activates more muscle groups simultaneously than almost any other exercise. We're talking about glutes, quadriceps, hamstrings, core muscles, and even back muscles all working together. Understanding why this is so important after age 60 is essential, and that's exactly what the video explains next. The sit-to-stand movement is something you perform dozens of times a day, yet rarely notice its importance. However, it's one of the first movement patterns that many people begin to lose with aging. When the time comes that someone can no longer rise from a chair without support, independence quickly begins to decline, and the world around them becomes smaller. Simple tasks start to require assistance. Research shows that adults who are unable to perform the sit-to-stand test without using their arms have a 3 times higher mortality rate over the following 5 years. This reveals how fundamental this movement pattern is for functional health, autonomy, and most importantly, longevity. To correctly perform the modified chair squat, start by choosing a sturdy chair that places your knees at about a 90-degree angle when seated. Stand in front of the chair with your feet hip-width apart and your toes slightly pointing outward. This foot position is essential because it follows the natural alignment of the hips and reduces unnecessary pressure on the knees. Lower yourself slowly, taking about 3 seconds to reach the chair. When you get close to the seat, lightly touch it with your hips without fully relaxing your muscles. This light touch maintains muscle tension, which is where the greatest strength and development stimulus occurs. Immediately after, begin the upward movement by pushing through your heels, activating your glutes, and keeping your torso stable. Take about 2 seconds to stand back up. That completes 1 repetition. Start with 5 to 8 repetitions and gradually work up to 15 to 20. An amazing study from a Stanford Longevity Center analyzed adults over 60 who performed chair squats 3 times per week for just 6 weeks. The results were surprising. There was a 47% increase in muscular power, and it's important to remember that power is not just strength, but strength applied with speed. Power is extremely important for preventing falls, rising quickly from a chair, or reacting to stumble. Participants' walking speed increased by 0.2 meters per second. For those unfamiliar with medical terminology, that might sound small, but in practice, it's the difference between needing assistance to walk or maintaining full independence. Most impressive of all, fMRI scans, functional magnetic resonance imaging, showed increased activity in the motor cortex, the part of the brain responsible for movement control. In other words, this exercise was literally reprogramming the brain to move more efficiently. As for progression, research suggests a very effective strategy. In the first 2 weeks, use a standard height chair. Once you can perform 15 reps with good form, switch to a slightly lower seat, like a low table or ottoman. This increases the challenge by expanding the range of motion. Over time, you'll be able to perform the movement without using a chair at all, just squatting down to where a chair would be. Some study participants advanced even further by holding light weights during the movement, increasing the benefits. And now we've reached the most anticipated moment, exercise number 1, the one that's changing the way healthcare professionals understand fitness in older adults. Exercise number 1 is the bird dog with hold progressions. This movement has received enormous attention in the medical community because studies show it can improve multiple longevity markers at the same time. It's the same exercise mentioned at the beginning, the one that increased life expectancy markers by 42%, according to research from Harvard Medical School. Although it may seem like an unusual movement, the bird dog is the only exercise capable of addressing nearly all the critical aspects of aging at once: core stability, balance, cognitive function, spine health, bone density. A 2024 study published in the Journal of Gerontology stated that the bird dog is the single most effective exercise for healthy aging. And the numbers truly back up that claim. The bird dog requires you to maintain a neutral spine while lifting the opposite arm and leg, holding balance in this diagonal pattern. This pattern is especially interesting because it mimics the natural way the human body moves when walking, running, or performing almost any functional activity. But that's where the most surprising part begins. To perform the bird dog correctly, start with the most basic version. Kneel on a mat or comfortable surface, placing your hands and knees on the floor. Your hands should be aligned directly under your shoulders while your knees are positioned under your hips. Keep your spine neutral, not arched upward or sagging downward. From this position, lift your right arm forward, parallel to the floor, while simultaneously extending your left leg backward. The goal is to form a straight, continuous line from your fingertips to your toes. Hold this position for about 5 seconds at first, focusing on keeping your hips aligned and avoiding any rotation of the torso. Then slowly lower and repeat the movement with the opposite arm and leg. The secret that transforms this simple exercise into one of the most powerful for healthy aging lies in its structured progression. Weeks 1 and 2. Hold the position for 5 seconds on each side, performing 5 repetitions. Weeks 3 and 4, increase the hold time to 10 seconds. Weeks 5 and 6, add a pulse movement, raising the arm and leg 1 more centimeter before returning to parallel without losing stability. This small pulse recruits even more muscle fibers and intensifies the challenge. Weeks 7 and 8, close your eyes during the hold. This removes the visual signals that assist with balance and forces the proprioceptive system, the body's ability to sense its position in space, to work much harder. The scientific results on bird dog progressions are impressive. A study from a Mayo Clinic followed 500 adults over the age of 60 for 2 years. Participants who performed the exercise 4 times per week showed nearly unbelievable improvements: 93% increase in core strength, 76% reduction in lower back pain, 82% reduction in fall risk. These results are linked to the process of mechanotransduction, mentioned earlier, which occurs when specific mechanical forces are applied to the body. During the bird dog, muscles, bones, and connective tissues receive precise mechanical signals that trigger cellular responses. These cells interpret the stimulus as a challenge and activate remodeling mechanisms, strengthening and rebuilding tissues. It's as if the body receives the message: we need to get stronger to handle this. Another fascinating point discovered in recent research is that the bird dog offers the ideal combination of compression and traction on the bones, creating the perfect environment to stimulate bone growth. Areas responsible for balance, motor coordination, spatial awareness, and executive functions light up simultaneously during the movement. After just 8 weeks of practice, participants showed measurable increases in brain volume in these regions, a highly significant finding for preventing cognitive decline. To maximize the benefits of the exercise, proper breathing is essential. During the hold, breathe slowly and deeply through your nose, allowing your rib cage to fully expand. This breathing pattern activates the deep core stabilizers and improves oxygenation of the working muscles. Many people hold their breath during effort-based exercises, but this reduces movement efficiency and can raise blood pressure excessively. Studies show that breath control during the bird dog improves respiratory function by 22% in older adults. Here's an advanced tip that can double the effectiveness of the exercise. While holding the position, focus on pushing your extended hand forward and your extended foot backward, as if you're trying to stretch your body longer. This creates a phenomenon called irradiation, where tension spreads throughout the entire body, activating more muscle fibers and strengthening neural connections. Research shows that this technique of intentional tension can increase strength gains by up to 40% compared to simply holding the posture passively. In the end, the bird dog progressions brilliantly show why these 5 exercises outperform traditional walking for people over 60. Walking is undoubtedly beneficial, and certainly better than being sedentary. However, walking does not provide the diverse stimuli the body needs to maintain and improve its capabilities as it ages. The 5 exercises presented target exactly the areas where aging typically causes decline. They strengthen the body across multiple planes of motion, challenge balance and coordination, stimulate cognitive function, increase bone density, and reinforce the mind-body connection, a key factor in continuing to move with confidence over the years. The most important point is to understand that the key is not perfection, but progression. Start from where you are, even if that means doing modified versions of the exercises or fewer repetitions. The human body has an extraordinary capacity for adaptation, even at advanced stages. In just a few weeks, you'll likely be surprised at how much you can already improve. Science is clear and consistent. It's never too late to start. In multiple studies, participants over 90 still showed significant gains in strength, balance, mobility, and cognitive function. The body retains its ability to get stronger throughout life. It just needs the right stimulus. And these 5 exercises provide exactly that. To close, the video leaves a reflection and an invitation. What daily activity has become more difficult for you after turning 60? The one you'd like to regain? And be honest, how many minutes per week have you been exercising? What has been your biggest obstacle to staying consistent? Share your answers, experiences, and challenges. This kind of exchange helps others and creates a supportive community. Thank you for following this transformative content.